Hello, all you beautiful people. This is Intentional Healing, and I am Nicole Bridger. So I got the hit or inspiration today to talk to you about what it means to have a successful marriage, a successful relationship, and why is it that we deem a relationship unsuccessful if it's not for forever. But like always, before we begin, just allowing yourself to take a deep breath and allowing yourself to just be here for these next few minutes together. Whatever's calling your attention out there in your day will still be there when we're done. And I ask that as I'm sharing some things, that you really bring a sense of curiosity and compassion to yourself, because it's the only way to notice beliefs that you have and to begin to shift them is if you come with that sort of sense of openness and curiosity. If something triggers you or irks you, just lean into it a little bit and go, oh, I wonder what that's about. There's something there for me. And that's where the healing begins to happen. So I just know that in our society, in many different cultures, there is a huge stigma around an unsuccessful relationship, whether that be divorce or just splitting up, essentially anything that isn't for forever or this lifetime. And it's interesting because it brings such a sense of shame and guilt and can keep us in a situation when we have outgrown it and are ready to shift into something new. So let's talk for a minute about the construct of marriage and the belief systems around it. Because if you can see that it's just for so many generations that we've had this construct of marriage. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with marriage. It's just important to look at where the beliefs come from, because often we carry beliefs without even realizing it, without even questioning, like, do I actually resonate to that belief? Does that actually feel true for me? Or do I just hold that as a belief because that's what I've been taught? For so many generations, that's what has been taught. I remember when I left my ex-husband, and even to this day, it's 10 years later, and particularly now living in Indonesia, where that's kind of everybody's first question is, where's your husband? Because there's such a strong belief that in marriage and the importance of marriage, that it's really challenging for people sometimes to see a woman or a man not in a marriage. And there's a lot wrapped around that. Like, some people have sort of pity. Oh, poor you, that you aren't married, you must not be happy. Some people have kind of like to be honest, it almost questions their own beliefs around it, particularly if they're already feeling some misalignment to the beliefs that they're carrying. It's going to kind of defunk the beliefs, like, okay, well, a person has to get married and have children. There's no question about that. And then when they see people happy and thriving, not in those rules, whatever those rules are, it disrupts their own beliefs. Like, wait a minute, is it possible? And just allowing other people to have their own feelings and reactions. But I know for myself, when I was getting divorced, I mean, sure, it's a hard thing to go through. Not as hard as surviving a dysfunctional relationship every day. That's much more painful than actually divorcing and healing. But when someone now tells me that they're divorcing, I really, hold my own judgment around it and just see, like, how are you doing with that, and how is that for you, and where are you in the journey of that, and supporting them wherever they are in that healing journey. Because it's interesting, and this is kind of what I really want to talk about, is how do we measure the success of a relationship? Spiritually and energetically, we draw in relationships, whether they be romantic or not, to help teach us something, to help guide us on our path. And often those lessons come with very uncomfortable situations, and sometimes very painful. Does that mean that they were unsuccessful just because they weren't for the lifetime? In my own healing around my own divorce, I can't have any regret. I have a beautiful son that I just adore. I feel so incredibly lucky to have him. Absolutely, it was spiritually meant to be for us to be together in this lifetime, and I'm grateful for that. And I have learned a huge capacity for forgiveness and compassion, and the work that I do now is hugely in part of, because of the healing journey that I've been on. So is that unsuccessful? Or was that an incredible, necessary stepping stone on the path of my life? To me, it would have been unsuccessful if I had stayed and, essentially killed myself for the sanctity or structure or belief systems around marriage. If I had continued to betray myself and not listen and not learn and not grow as a spiritual being, to me that would have been unsuccessful. And I can look at all the relationships that I've had with so much gratitude and purpose. Like, I really can see how, when I was with them, I was still holding on to these beliefs and drew in the perfect person to help me see that. And then there came a time where, it wasn't meant to continue. And I'm incredibly grateful for the time that we've had and the learnings that I've had. So for me, again, that was successful. So it's kind of an interesting perspective, especially for any of you that might be struggling with the shame and guilt around separation and divorce, particularly if you do have children or family or just others that are being affected by your choices. It's really hard for us to do what feels right for us. It can feel really selfish. And even for my son, do I think that this was unsuccessful for him? I mean, he's a beautiful person, and he has learned so much in his own journey of forgiveness and boundaries and compassion with his own dad. And it has really helped him to, already only at 10, be such an incredible human being. And life will go the way that it is meant to go. And the only way for me to look at it as unsuccessful is if we don't relish in the beauty and the magic and really learn from all of the stuff that's happening. And if we resist it and push it away, to me, yes, then that is unsuccessful. But if you are able to take whatever hand that life has dealt you and learn from it and grow from it and still be an open-hearted human being, then absolutely that is successful. So I hope that's a little bit helpful for any of you that that are grappling with the idea of what is a successful relationship, and that you begin to soften the judgment that you are holding for yourself, and keeping yourself in kind of a jail of judgment, and begin to put down those walls and see that you are doing the very best that you can with what you have been given, and to begin opening up some windows of appreciation and gratitude, even if it's been ugly and tough, even if you haven't been the best version of yourself through it, to soften that judgment, because that's just holding you from your growth, from your learning. Thank you so much for this time together. Please reach out anytime. NicoleBridger.com is my website, and Nicole Bridger is my Instagram. I would love to hear any questions or thoughts that you have, and I can address them in a later podcast. Thank you so much, and have a blessed, blessed day.